Welcome to the Voice of Senior Care. I'm Morgan.
And I'm Kiana.
And we're bringing families and the caregiving community together. Friendly Voices, the Senior Care Podcast.
Welcome to Friendly Voices, the Senior Care Podcast. I am your host, Kiana James, and we have
Morgan Williams, your co-host.
And today we have a special guest in. Her name is Brittany, and we're going to let you tell us all about yourself, Brittany.
Hello, I'm Brittany Jalamo. I'm a sales and marketing director in the senior living realm at a senior living community, Vineyard Pearland, which is south of the Med Center off of 288. And we have been in the industry for about 11 years now. I've experienced the height of COVID. I was in an active community throughout the whole thing. And, you know, with Vineyard Pearland and how we've noticed things happen over the past couple of years with the COVID experience, we're changing the way that people look and think about senior living. So I'm excited for it.
And I'm excited about your property. I pass by it all the time. So I'm excited. I'm a resident of Pearland, so very excited to see it come to the community. So today in our podcast, we're going to talk about senior living and the new normal. We know because we're going through still this COVID pandemic that it has pretty much changed so many things with our way of life, including the way seniors live. And so we're going to talk about that today. And so we wanted to bring Brittany in because she is our expert as it pertains to senior living. How long have you been in the industry, Brittany?
11 years between a couple of different management companies. So I've experienced everything from independent living to assisted living, secure memory care area for those with cognitive impairment, as well as skilled nursing facilities.
Oh, yeah. So you have seen a little bit of both. Would you have ever thought that we would be in dealing with something like this?
No, absolutely not. And honestly, every day I wake up thinking, is it gone yet? You know, we're all adjusting to what is normal now, and it's affected everybody. For a lot of seniors health-wise, you know, whether they have contracted COVID or not, it's also affected physical abilities, you know, people staying home, not getting as much exercise. It's affected mental health, not being able to see family or interact with others. There's a lot of things that it's changed. So definitely never expected it. Honestly, didn't believe when it first happened how serious it was, and it's changed our way of life for sure.
Definitely. And for our seniors who, for many of them, are in their last years of life.
Yes,
you know,
these should be their best years of their life.
These should be their best years of their lives, and for them to be stuck in isolation and, you know, can't see their friends, can't go out. I mean, we saw so many little seniors just so down and depressed. Many seniors died, not because of COVID, but because they were isolated. They couldn't see anybody. No family, no friends, no other residents. It's really been hard and challenging on our seniors. So it's hard and challenging on everyone, but our seniors in particular really kind of had a double whammy there.
I think it's forced people to see things from another light too. You know, prior to COVID, we were so self-centered. You know, what am I doing next? What's going on in my life? You know, how do I respond to my circumstances? Whereas it's kind of flipped. People with a heart are considering things from the other side of the table. You know, how is what I'm saying affecting the people around me? How is what I'm doing affecting the people around me? And, you know, especially for seniors, that they lived that way of life because they have the wisdom. They've already been in our shoes. They've learned the hard way. We're here for others, not just for ourselves. And now it's kind of coming full circle. The rest of us are getting that knowledge and wisdom from them.
Yeah, we've talked about that, how we've learned so much from them and how much experiences, you know, going through many of them the Great Depression and just other hard times and seeing so much. And where we going through this pandemic, while it was hard, we had all these modern conveniences.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're upset.
Online ordering, food ordering.
Exactly. We're upset because we can't go to the grocery stores, or we're too scared to go to grocery stores. Oh, we'll just have it delivered to our door. You know, all these modern conveniences that the seniors did not have. So we're going to talk about some ways in which to protect residents and also team members. So those that are showing up, our healthcare heroes, which also includes those going to our residents, taking care of the seniors. What are some ways in which those can be protected? What are your thoughts on that?
So there are some general things at the community level we did to protect both staff and residents. I'll touch on those, and we can kind of go into more about residents specifically and staff as well. But we had to really think ahead, and I think the science and technology aspect of it, there were processes in the works that just sped up a lot faster because of our need for it.
Right.
Vaccinations being an obvious one of those. Mm-hmm. So, having vaccination clinics available for both residents and staff, everyone who's interested, it's easy access. It's a vaccination clinic on site versus having to miss work to go get a vaccination, or residents having to worry about public transportation to receive a vaccination, those sorts of things. It was, all within the community. Another form of science helping us out would be there are some films that go on any of the high-touch surfaces throughout the building. So the front doors, the coffee, the little lever to open the coffee and pour coffee into a cup. The buttons in the elevator. It's basically an antimicrobial film. And so it's on contact, it's killing the germs, versus us, we do go and clean all of the high-touch surfaces very regularly, but this is instant, not once an hour type cleaning. So I believe...
That's really cool. I saw that on an elevator once, and I wondered how that worked.
The blue,
yes.
Yep. Yep, so that helped a lot. We also screen everybody who comes into the building. So, obviously visitors, if family members are coming to come see their loved ones, but what people don't consider is the staff. We have to screen our staff every single day as well, making sure if they're showing symptoms that they're staying home, making sure that we're checking their temperature, encouraging people to make wise decisions when they're not at work. Don't go into crowds. Don't go places where there's going to be a lot of germs.
I think that's an important point, because I said throughout this pandemic, in dealing with our seniors, for the most part, they stay inside.
Yeah.
But we saw the horrific stories in the very beginning of COVID of these breakouts happening at nursing homes and just pretty much running through the building, and so many seniors dying. And I just kept saying, we that are going into the building, we are bringing COVID into the buildings. It's not the seniors. So screening the staff, like you said, and then another point which you talked about, trying to help them to make good decisions when they're not at work.
Yep.
And that was something I found so challenging. And for myself, running a home care agency, because I'm like, I can't control people's behaviors. I can control them when they're at work, when they're not at work, so just thinking of ways in which to encourage them, I think that's a really good point.
Right, and it goes back to that seeing it from the other side. Not only is my decision going to affect me, but it can affect the people that I'm around on a daily basis too.
Yeah.
Another thing, the antibacterial soap dispensers, you see them everywhere you go now. We didn't used to just walk down a regular hallway and see them hanging on the wall.
Everywhere.
But they're everywhere, yeah. And we did see them on the wall in the hospitals, and I guess we would use them when we saw them, but now it's just second nature. I'm always washing my hands, no matter what I just did or where I'm headed. It's a constant reminder of, be careful what you're doing, encouraging people to stay socially distanced. When we do have to go into a crowd, let's say the dining room, for instance, there have been some adjustments made in the dining spaces in senior living communities, putting fewer tables in a common space, fewer chairs around the table to keep space between residents, that sort of thing. But if you have to stand in line for something, be it maybe a vaccination clinic outside of the building or something else, the doctor's office, keeping space between you, making others aware so that they realize the importance of it.
And I saw, a shift. So in the beginning, we were all closed in. Everybody stayed in. All the seniors were in for months, just stuck in their rooms.
Yes.
I think meals in many of the places that we worked at were delivered. And then as time went on and we saw, okay, this is not going away, we started talking about the isolation and the impact that it was having on our seniors just being locked up. And basically, like, we can't lock them up forever. And many of the seniors were like, I don't care if I get it. I want my freedom.
I need people, yeah.
I want to interact with people. I want to go out. And so we saw this shift of letting the seniors out, letting them commingle. But again, with some of those measures that you're talking about, to still try to keep them as safe as possible. Many of them were wearing masks or we really saw it really open up after the vaccinations. They felt a little bit safer going out, but then still social distancing and things like that. So I think that's good.
Yeah, we've also started staggering times for things rather than just an open, 11 to 1 o'clock is lunchtime. We can do different seatings. There's an 11:15 seating, an 11:30 seating, an 11:45 seating. So there's still flexibility. They can choose when they come in, but we section out the dining room so that we have time to clean and sanitize the space after one group before the next comes. So, this may be 11:30, this is 11:45, this is 12. There's plenty of time to circle back and clean all of this before the next wave come and sit in those sections. Same for activities, limiting the supplies. They're not a general everybody use supply group anymore. These are resident A's supplies, these are resident B's supplies, and these are resident C's. And having Lysol wipes. If they want to clean their own supplies in between use, go right ahead. We're providing the materials,
I started carrying wipes with me.
Oh yeah! Every time you walk into a place, you clean your own seat, clean the handles. Yeah.
I remember the first time I went into a community after they were kind of letting us back in and letting us do things. And I'm like looking through the shelves. I'm like, where are all the bingo cards? And they told us, nope, everyone's got their own bingo card now. And they were so proud of their little marbles and the bingo cards. They had their own. But yeah, that's something, you didn't think about before. But now, it's everyday living, change in everyday living.
For sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Is there any other points before we wrap up with this particular section that you want to bring out?
I think the main thing is that staff morale has to be that we react quickly. We're proactive as much as possible, but when we know that there's a potential threat to residents or staff, we have to respond right away. Everyone needs to get tested. Everyone needs to pay attention to their body. If you have symptoms, stay home. As long as we're thinking about how our own actions can affect someone else, ultimately we're going to make the right decisions.
Awesome. We're going to continue on this topic. We're going to talk about how we can continue to enjoy life safely for our seniors. But we want to turn it over to some of our sponsors. So we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Singles. Do you feel it? The feeling like it's time to start having fun again? If you do, then you're ready to celebrate with Events and Adventures. There's never been a better time to join than right now. Meet new people with a packed calendar of fun events, exciting adventures, and future memories. It's time to live life to the fullest, to high five, skydive, and feel alive again. That feeling is here at Events and Adventures. If you're single and ready to celebrate, visit eventsandadventures.com to get started. That's eventsandadventures.com.
AT&T Fiber delivers a faster internet experience than cable. Ask me how to get 300 megabits per second for only $35 a month, plus taxes and fees, with no annual contract, no bundles required, and unlimited internet data included. Call Boss Up Houston Network at 832-895-5095. Again, that is Boss Up Houston Network at 832-895-5095. Limited availability. May not be available in your area. Speed claims based on device upload and download capacity of internet 300, internet 500, and internet 1000. First Xfinity, Spectrum, and Cox 400 meg, 500 meg, 600 meg, 1 gig, 1.2 gig cable services with uploads of 10, 20, and 35 megabits per second. Download max speed is 920 megabits per second for internet 1000. Speed varies from
And this is Boss Up Houston, where we look up where we look up, stay up. And where we look up, stay up. Stay up and boss up. This is Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up, and boss up.
Wanna be a boss? Let's talk business. Let's talk fashion. Let's talk health, fitness, community, lifestyle, and finance. With Boss Up Houston, Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. It's Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up, and boss up.
Are you single? Maybe you're divorced or new in town. It's time to meet your match with Events and Adventures. Whether you're low-key or adventurous, come hang out with tons of like-minded people at exciting group activities. The best part? Everyone is single. From happy hours and trivia nights to outdoor adventures and weekend getaways, Events and Adventures has something for everyone. We're all here for the same reason. So come be part of a community made for singles. Your match is waiting for you to make your move. Visit eventsandadventures.com to get started. That's eventsandadventures.com.
Welcome back to Friendly Voices, the Senior Care Podcast, where we are talking about the new norm as it pertains to senior living with our special guest, Brittany. And so we're talking about now how we can continue to keep our seniors safe, but still have them to enjoy themselves and enjoy life. So kind of want to turn it over to you, Brittany, and what are your thoughts as it pertains to that?
Sure. So, social activities, interacting with one another, physical touch, these are things that we're hearing on a consistent basis matter so much more than we ever realized. Take handshaking, for instance. You know, that quick connection with the person that you're meeting for the first time. It's a warm and fuzzy feeling. Yes. Nowadays, it's an awkward, like, elbow,
what do you
do? Like, are you okay with us getting within 6 feet at all? You know, it's just
awkward.
Yes, very awkward. And that's something that our seniors have known their entire lives. They've never not shaken hands, much less giving somebody a big warm hug, you know? So finding ways to still get that warm and fuzzy feeling from one another without the physical touch aspect. You know, for us, it's been a lot of funky dress-up days, you know, crazy sock day, crazy hat day, something to make the people who are walking by laugh and start a conversation. It's another way of relating to one another without having that quick handshake or hug, you know?
And Brittany's so creative. If you follow her online, she'll be dressed up in costumes and all kinds of things going on.
Lots of crazy costumes. I may or may not have been Vinny the Elf for Christmas time.
Yeah.
Yep. Thinking about other stuff, you know, rather than activities being in person, we've also learned to do a lot of things virtually. So Bible study classes, exercise classes, travel groups, you know, a lot of these travel clubs, seniors were used to going on a week vacation 4 times a year, you know.
Wow.
They used to spend a lot of time outdoors and things, and now there's kind of 2 different ways that they do this virtually. They are either sharing their own experiences, sharing their own artwork and things that they've collected from travel in the past, talking about the culture of where they visited, or enjoying that from someone else. You know, it can be done in front of a computer, it can be done in front of a large crowd, socially distanced, you know.
How do you feel the seniors adapted? Because you mentioned virtually and how y'all started doing a lot of things virtually. How do you think they adapted to virtual?
At first, it was a little bit of, I don't want to, I don't need to. And then there was this quick realization, this isn't going away. If I want to interact, I'm going to have to learn how to use my iPad, my iPhone, my, you know, whatever electronic device. Luckily, because staff, let's use the wait staff in the dining room, for example, because they were not serving the residents at a meal for an entire 2 hours, a lot of their efforts were more of a pre-packaging so it could be delivered. Well, then they've got this 2-hour window of what do we do next? So we sent them to interact with the residents. You know, they could go do one-on-one sessions teaching them how to FaceTime with their family members or get onto Skype, you know, showing them where they can access different websites with cool brain stimulating games. You know, there's so much available to us on the internet nowadays. It was more maximizing those assets for our seniors.
Yeah, I saw a big shift with seniors in technology.
For sure.
Yeah, since COVID, and you would think, a lot of them wouldn't want to do it or can't do it, but
with a little assistance, they can learn more than we realize.
Yeah.
And now phones, it never fails when I'm around our senior friends. I hear their phones, talking to, if they can't hear very well, then they've got the, loudspeaker that'll shout what their, incoming call from daughter, like just to make it, services and software and like you said, the brain games, they've made it easier for our seniors to be able to utilize that technology and and for those not even seniors but just technically challenged folks to be able to have the same opportunity to interact
and I've seen even some seniors on some of the social media apps, like on TikToks or Facebook. Yeah. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah,
people
they love it. Yeah, and then their families share it, and it brings a smile to people all around the world. That a lot of times there's a senior living near a family member, in Pearland, for instance, and then they've got grandkids in California and Washington D.C. and Florida. And it's a way for them to interact with each other without actually having to travel to the local area where grandma or grandpa's living. So that's been fun too.
Now, early on in COVID, when again everybody was really, really locked up, I saw a lot of like drive-throughs and car parades, different things you would see on the news where residents are going to the window, or the families are going to the windows and they're seeing their loved ones. Did you see any of that?
All of it. we did a lot of that. Also outdoor activities. So, in most of the active senior living communities, there's some kind of outdoor space, whether it be a courtyard or balconies on the apartments, that sort of thing. And so exercise classes. You don't need to be standing in the same room as everybody to do yoga. You can stand on your own balcony, and the activities director is standing in the courtyard teaching yoga to 100 apartments that are around the courtyard at the same time.
Neat.
So definitely outdoor exposure increased quite a good bit. The hallway parades, we did drive-by parades, but then there were also hallway parades. I remember last year I was dressed up as the bunny rabbit, hopping up and down the halls, delivering baskets to each of the residents that our staff had created for them. So, making everybody laugh and smile. It's all about morale at that point.
Yeah. And so seeing them being locked up and then seeing things opening back up, and you talk about morale, did you see them being uplifted or notice the change? Yes.
We absolutely cannot shut down again. I was an advocate for reopening. I reached out to our local government. I was advocating for some reformed way of opening because we definitely need our seniors to be able to see their families. Like you said, these are their last days, months, years.
Yeah.
They need interaction with their family. A lot of them, that's the only value in life at this point.
That's the only value in life.
And so as we reopened, morale came back. They still don't want all the fun adjustments going away. That they love the hallway parties, they love the dress up days. So it's like you said, it's a new norm. We merge these things together and find a safer way to do it, and it's made a big difference.
So we're going to talk about how seniors can be confident if they're thinking of making that leap or that move to an active adult community or independent or assisted living. But we want to turn it over to our sponsors, so we're going to take a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Hi, this is T. Foxy Wyckoff, and this is Let's Talk Business and Real Estate, where faith, hope, and determination comes alive. You can't talk business without talking real estate. Come follow me. The Lord will bless your barns, and He will bless your hands and everything you put them to do. The Lord will bless the property in which He's giving you. Tune in to Let's Talk Business and Real Estate on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on the Boss Up Houston Network.
and this is Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up. And where we look up, stay up. Stay up and boss up. This is Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up, and boss up.
Wanna be a boss? Let's talk business. Let's talk fashion. Let's talk health, fitness, community, lifestyle, and finance with Boss Up Houston, Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. It's Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up, and boss up.
And we're back. Welcome back to Friendly Voices, the Senior Care Podcast. And today we have our special guest, Brittany, in. And we're talking about the new norm when it comes to senior living. So a lot of families are at that point, Brittany, when they're having to make that decision. Okay, it's time for mom and dad or grandma and grandpa to move out, to move somewhere to get some additional help. So they're looking at these active aging communities and independent livings, assisted livings, for some nursing facilities. So how can those residents move and be confident? Because obviously with this pandemic, so many people have had like apprehensions about moving because they're afraid, oh my gosh, I've seen the stories on the TV, there's going to be breakout of COVID, maybe I should just stay at my home, but it's really not feasible for them to stay in their home. So talk to us about your thoughts about that.
Sure. So there are some additional perks to living in a community setting versus being at home that COVID has shed light on. Two of those off the bat would be the interaction with others, being able to see people in a safe environment. And I'll talk about why it's a safer environment for many. And then the other is the physical interaction. The walk from an apartment to the main dining spaces, they're getting more exercise just going to meals than they are walking from the kitchen to the living room recliner.
That's true.
And that makes a huge impact on your daily life too. You know, physical exercise is an important part to our well-being. And so in order for families to feel comfortable, we in senior living spaces have so much more access to the needed cleaning supplies, you know, to the PPE. If there is any kind of outbreak, we have the right protections for our staff to still be able to interact with our residents safely, and also for our residents to interact with each other safely. There are new protocols in place and new funding in place to help senior living communities with the needed tools. So a lot of the new residents, actually all of the new residents that I'm aware of in any senior living communities are required to be tested.
Right.
You know, within a 72-hour window before they ever actually move into the building, they're being tested, and then again, they quarantine for a few days, are tested again. It's after the second negative test that they're able to go out and do everything with everybody. And
Smart.
yeah, it helps the resident coming in, it helps the residents that are already in the building, it helps the staff. You know, everybody's a little bit more comfortable with, yeah, things are changing, but they're changing slowly. It's not an instant, you know, new set of germs every day coming into the building. What else? We have all of our amenities under one roof. So rather than going out to a hair salon and being exposed to that set of germs, going out to the grocery store, being exposed to that set of germs, going out to a gym, you know, all these different sets of germs that if people are interacting the way that they really want to, you know, an optimal lifestyle at home, they're being exposed to quite a bit on a daily basis. For the seniors, it's all the same people that have already been tested and vaccinated, a much higher vaccination rate within the community versus outside of the community.
Yes.
So it's a much safer place for them to still be active. We have a lot of safety checks in place on a daily basis. The nurse, like in assisted livings and memory cares, skilled nursing facilities, the staff are required to go by on a daily basis and check every resident's temperature, check their symptoms. Some are checking with the pulse ox, to make sure that their oxygen levels are where they need to be. So there's a more consistent routine that allows for peace of mind among family and staff. The trained healthcare staff being accessible is another peace of mind for family members. Not only are they there to respond to, I'm feeling symptoms, they're also proactively, 24 hours a day, whenever you need me, I'm here. And we were talking earlier, sometimes that's just a concierge. Maybe they don't have healthcare training. Maybe it's an independent living, but it's somebody physically in the building where at the push of a button or a pull of a cord or a phone call to a dedicated hotline, somebody can come to them quickly. And it's not always the family member 20 miles away trying to rush through traffic at 3 a.m.
Yeah, and I think that is huge because we encounter a lot of seniors that are alone.
Yes.
They're doing it. A lot of time it's things that has happened over the years that result in them being alone.
Yeah.
Whether it's on their
Some
side
of their
or
own
the family
choices.
side. Yeah, some of their own choices. But the fact is, some of them are alone. Families are not even located here, and they're trying to do it alone. So, for those families that are checking in on them and that might be out of town or something like that, I think it's very assuring to them that they're in a community and, hey, if there's an emergency, there's somebody that they can contact.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's
And
see
then
what
you also,
else.
I think you talked about the cleaning and the social distancing and all of that. So we've definitely seen and experienced that. Now, as far as the future, because we're talking about the new norm, and there's been a lot of changes. Some things are never going to go back the way it was. Based on your research and kind of what you're seeing, what do you think the future holds as it pertains to senior living?
Definitely a change in healthcare. It won't ever be the same as it was before. For communities, senior communities, that is access to more healthcare within the building itself. So, in the past, a lot of active senior communities have some kind of exercise space. Some have a therapy space. They may share therapists between other communities, that sort of thing. But now it's becoming a more dedicated healthcare team within each community. So, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, respiratory therapists, physicians, x-ray techs, lab techs, all these people are becoming more localized.
Right.
And I mean, take CVS for example. You can go to pretty much any CVS, swab yourself, drop it off, and a couple days later if you have COVID because they did the testing there. It's a similar approach. We can do things on site to be proactive in making sure that residents are optimal health for their current state, but also, the reactive aspect too. Maybe someone had COVID, they went to the hospital, got the necessary treatment, and then came back home. What are we doing at this point to keep them from getting it again, or for those symptoms to come back or worsen? So making sure that within our walls that we are operating as a healthcare community and not just the social model. That's something that's changed. Because of the federal funding that was used within assisted livings and skilled nursings and whatnot for all the personal protective equipment and other supplies, there's some more federal regulation that's going to come. Knowing that money was spent, how was it spent? Now they want to know what was done.
There's a lot of money going around.
Yep. And it's requiring that senior communities become more transparent too.
Yes.
Not only are we supposed to wait and respond to these different reports and everything that are required of us, but we should just be more open, sharing. There are even senior living communities that it's published on their website. updated daily. How many residents have active COVID cases? How many staff members have active COVID cases? How many have recovered? How many passed?
Yeah, that's something you never saw before.
Never.
I mean, we had the flu
exactly.
all the time. There were never this many people had the flu
and passed away from it, or
right.
none of that was out there. But if a community is doing what they're supposed to and being proactive instead of reactive, those numbers are much lower. It's a lot easier to publish. It's something that, it's reality. We're all dealing with it. It's not that people are so floored by it anymore, because 2 or 3 deaths is nothing in the grand scheme of what we were seeing in the news. What
right.
used to be publicized at the beginning of this pandemic. So, I think it's also becoming a little more sophisticated and consolidated. Rather than a whole bunch of mom and pop senior agencies, it's expensive to run a community. Yes. So people that have the right skill set, the right experience, those are the ones that are being successful today. In doing market research and analysis with other communities across the Houston area, either you get it or you don't.
Yes.
You went with the right protocol, you jumped into action as soon as it needed to happen, you responded to things in a timely manner, your staff had a great morale, they stuck together, you knew as soon as something important happened what to do, when to do it, how to do it, your materials were accessible to you. Those are the ones that are all full right now. Mm-hmm. And then there's a bunch of communities that have really low occupancy, unfortunately, because either they lost residents to death or their family just realized this isn't the safest thing for my loved one. I need to do something different. So it's kind of where we're at right now.
Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. We know this is a very, very important topic, and the whole purpose of Friendly Voices, the Senior Care Podcast, is to be a source of informative information for families that are having to make these decisions, that are having to make different choices about mom or dad, or about themselves, or about their spouse. What do I do? And so we know COVID was such a big topic in navigating through this pandemic that we are still going through, and we don't know how long we will be going through it.
Yeah.
So as a whole, as a world, we've just had to adjust and keep moving forward. And so we've had to do that in healthcare. We've had to do that in senior care. And so we want to thank you. I consider us all healthcare heroes. We're
Definitely
taking care of these precious seniors. And so we just want to really just thank you for coming and joining us today. We want to thank you guys, too, for joining another episode, and continue to watch us. Share it with your friends. You can find us on Facebook by looking up Friendly Faces. You can find us on LinkedIn by looking up Friendly Faces Senior Care. We also have a TikTok, so we're Friendly Faces. I think it's _HOU on TikTok and Instagram. And then you can always go to our website at www.friendlyfaces.com. But definitely stay tuned and join our next episode. Thank you so much, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Friendly Voices, the Senior Care Podcast.